video that is pushing the boundaries of laziness. Normally, I would just read out some text to you so you wouldn't have to read it. But this time, I'm also going to explain pictures to you. But more than that, I'm going to show you the newest issue of the Lux comic series, which in my eyes might be just about the best comic yet. Not because of the art or the action, but because of the lore it reveals. Keep in mind that my wedding is getting closer, so I am still in my time-saving mode. So this video was recorded without a script. So if you feel like I can't talk during this video, that's because I can't talk in general. With that said, let's have a look at the newest issue of Lux. So, the third issue of the Lux comic series continues right when the second one ended. So here Lux is sneaking home after her visit of the prisons. However, you may remember that epic scene where Garen saw what Lux was doing, and so it is no surprise that they caught her. And when Lux got back to the Crown Guard manor, her brother Garen and their aunt were waiting for her. Lux tried to defend herself and tell them that she was with the Illuminators, which is a group of Demacians who help the poor and the helpless. But again, Garen saw her, so they knew what she was really doing. More importantly, Garen mentions that he knows why she left Prince Jarvan waiting. Because don't forget, Lux was supposed to marry Prince Jarvan. Their marriage was set in stone. But Lux simply didn't attend the ceremony, so nothing happened in the end. Either way, as we mentioned for the third time already, Garen knows that she was visiting the prisons and more specifically that she was talking to Silas. Here Lux tries to defend Silas and tell them that he's pretty much just a human being. He's not the monster that everyone thinks he is. Which, let's be honest, is true. Silas isn't really the bad guy. It's just that Demacians are quite racist. And they're not the nicest people when it comes to mages. So in their eyes, Silas is going to be bad no matter what. Funnily enough, their aunt Diana calls Lux a stupid girl. After all, if anyone realized that Lux was talking to Silas, the name of the Crown Guard family would be destroyed. So in order to make sure this never happens, Diana decided to get rid of Silas for good. The next scene then shows Silas in his prison cell. If you look closely, you can see all the books that Lux brought him. The hole in the wall behind him is from the last comic issue. That's when Silas realized that Petricite absorbs magic, and he was able to use it to gather some of Lux's light. Next, when Silas heard a noise coming from the hallway, he was expecting Lux. But unfortunately, she wasn't coming. And it's cool to see how the warden himself acknowledges that. In the warden's eyes, Silas was toying with Lux. Which is not what he was really doing. But again, in the eyes of a Demacian, a mage will always be evil. And for his crimes, the warden confirms that Silas will be beheaded the next day. Then the scene cuts back to the Crown Guard manor, where Aunt Diana locked Lux in a storage room. And we can see that Lux also learned that Silas is going to be executed. Of course, Lux still trusts Silas, so she started looking for a way out. Unfortunately, a storage room doesn't have windows, so Lux only had two options. Either she would kick open the door and beat all the guards with her fists, or, and let's be honest, that's the only real way to get out, she could use her magic to get out. But should anyone see what she had done, her life would be over, and her family would be in shame. After this awesome scene where Lux is weighing her options, she tells the guards outside to tell her mom that she's sorry about the house, and that she will know what she meant. In the next scene, Silas is already being escorted to his own execution. He was accused of being an incorrigible practitioner of magic, as well as a conspirator against the Crown Guard, by which they reference Lux, and a possessor of restricted materials. This is a cool detail, because remember, Lux gave Silas the parchment with the original Durand's work. Lux stole it and she gave it to Silas, so it's cool to see that he's not being accused of being a thief, because technically he didn't steal it. Lux is the criminal. Anyway, I loved the speech they gave Silas before his death. They told him that it is their duty to see him executed by the headsman's sword, before the Protector and all who are present. Of course, the Protector is Kael. We know this from the old legends of Kael and Morgana. Then we see Lux using her magic to get out of the room. And remember this later, it will be important. And then the scene cuts back to the headsman. As Lux fought through the crowd, she managed to stop the execution. And she told everyone that what they are doing is wrong. She then exclaimed that everything they have heard about Silas of Dragborn were lies. They were just rumors and not the whole truth. Yes, she admits that he's a mage, but he's also a human. One with a heart and a soul, just like any of them. She then tells the crowd that they made him into a criminal. It is the way Demacia treats people like him. That's what makes them monsters. Then Lux admits that she knows this well, because it is something she had struggled with. Because she, Luxana Crown Guard, is his friend, and totally not a mage. Of course, she was accused of being a mage lover, and then she was seemingly peacefully escorted away, and the execution carried on. If I had one critique of this issue, it is the action that follows. We see that Lux stomps on the guard's foot, which, just like in any Disney movie ever, it works and she somehow broke free from this elite warrior. Anyway, she got close to Silas, and she touched him. She told him that she is sorry, and Silas told her that he is also sorry. Because when she touched him, Silas absorbed her light, and all hell broke loose. Lux tried to stop him, but Silas told her that there is only one way to deal with these Demacians, and with the coolest anime look ever. Without mercy, Silas evaporated people around him. And not just people, he aimed at the building as well, and suddenly half of Demacia was crumbling down. Then we get this godly shot that pictures Silas like the magical messiah he is. Lux questioned why he did this, but Silas was just happy that from this day onward, his kind wouldn't have to hide anymore. After a decade, he was finally free. In the next shot, we get the coolest surprise expression ever. By Targon, speak! Of course, remember that Targon is a very important place to Demacians. Not only is the Holy Protector and their so-called savior from Mount Targon, but Mount Targon is also the place where Demacians send their exiles. For example, Tariq is one of these quote-unquote criminals. He was sent to Mount Targon to die. Climbing the mountain was supposed to be his execution, and look at what he has become. Anyway, the man who exclaimed this was Garen himself. He ordered his men to secure the gates, while he charged in. Although he didn't know what was waiting for him there, he knew Lux was in there, and that's all he needed to know. Then the scene cuts back to Silas. Lux was tending to the prison's warden, while Silas blew a hole in the prison's wall, and with that he freed all the mages Demacia held. He then had an epic speech where he called Demacians swines, and how they squeal, and that they were getting ready to bleed them, starting with the biggest and fattest swine. After that, he blew another hole in the wall so the mages could escape, but he himself was stopped by Garen. Silas knew who Garen was, because as Silas himself mentioned, the Crown Guard warriors are known for their ridiculously oversized pauldrons. That's why Aunt Diana looks the way she does. It's just a Crown Guard thing. Anyway, a short battle between Garen and Silas erupted, and Silas told Garen that he heard all about him, from a reliable source, wink wink. And then we got a line that we really need to pay attention to. Garen asked what he had done to her, and Silas answered that he is no lord to do something bad to her, and truth be told, she came to him. Now this is very interesting because we know that the lords are dealing with mages, and Silas said that he is no lord, so why would he deal with Lux? Why would he deal with a mage? If you're not sure what I'm getting at, Silas kinda confirmed Garen that Lux is a mage, which is something Garen already suspected. And this could be one of the reasons why Garen was enraged. Garen came in with a heavy blow. Silas tried to blow him back with more light, but he ran out of magic. Here is another interesting detail. When Garen came in with the blow, Silas parried it with his petrified shackles, and that blow empowered his shackles. You need to remember that Garen's sword is made out of petrified steel, so the magic the sword absorbed was now transferred to the shackles. That's why in the next scene Silas was able to unleash fire. It was the magic of one of Garen's previous victims. There is also the tiny chance that Garen might be a mage, but that is almost impossible. We know that when Garen casts his ult, it is not his magic. The sword that comes down is actually Kale's sword. With his ultimate, Garen is calling upon the aspect of justice. Kale only answers that call. Again, it is probably just a coincidence that the fire has the same color as Kale's magic, so I am 99% sure Garen is not a mage. But just in case any future theory comes up, it could be still open to debate. Anyway, after Silas unleashed the fire that he absorbed from Garen, he says that Crown Guards are full of surprises, which again could go both ways. And then he says that they will never know the full truth, because Demacians would rather get rid of all the mages than to start studying how magic works. But before Silas is able to execute Garen, Lux steps in. And because Lux was kind to Silas while he was imprisoned, Silas shows kindness back. With that, he just leaves. In the next scene, Garen is being healed, and the doctor says that he's in a bad shape, because apparently Demacians aren't that good at healing magical wounds, even though all they do is fight mages. Anyway, the important thing is that behind Lux we have two mage seekers, and they started asking Lux what happened. Lux tried to avoid conflict, so she said that she already told them everything, but the doctor said that these are magical wounds. Anything she can tell him about a mage would help. This is where Lux had a little bit of a mental breakdown. She admitted that she gave Silas the knowledge. From Durant's records, he learned how to draw magic from his petrified shackles. Because remember, Demacians don't really know how petrified works. They only think it mitigates magic. But Lux confirmed that it doesn't block magic, it soaks it up. And Silas has the ability to use it. She then says that Silas himself doesn't have much active magic, but if he has a source, someone he can absorb it from, that's a different story. Then the mage seekers questioned, who gave him the magic then? Lux said that he needs a source, but he was in the prison alone. Thankfully for Lux, just when she was about to admit that she's a mage, there was a guard who rushed into the room and told them that he secured all the gates. Each gate with one soldier, which is totally not enough men. Then Lux remembered what Silas said before he left. He said that they would start with the biggest and the fattest swine, which meant that he didn't want to leave the city. Silas was going to kill the king. One of the mage seekers kind of laughed it off. If he went to the king, Silas would be really vulnerable. It would be an impossible attempt. But the other mage seeker understood what we were asking on Twitter for years now. The Masia was built out of petricite. Petricite that absorbed magic for centuries. That meant that the palace wasn't a protection. It was a weapon. While this is where the issue ends, there is much more we can talk about. First of all, do you remember what I told you? How Lux left the storage room? Well, when she got out, the guards obviously had to notice that she used magic to escape. At least that one single guard has to know that Lux is a mage. That is unless the guard was actually on Diana, in which case she actually knows the entire time. Also, we have the part where Silas confirmed that Lux is a mage to Garen, but most importantly, the reason why I love this comic series is because all this story takes place in the past, in the present. It's a bit confusing, but it makes sense. Essentially, the present days of the Masia were first explained with stories such as For the Masia, Last Light, the stories of Galio and Lux, and then the stories of Jarvan, Garen and all the others. Then we got the story of Silas, where we learned what he did when he was a child, and then what happened when he escaped. That's important. We know that he escapes. And the Turmoil story that was released after that even explains what happens even later on. In fact, the Turmoil story is the most present story we have. What this comic series explains is technically in the past, but from the stories of Lux and Garen, it is the most present story we have. So while we know that something incredibly awful happens in Demacia, hence why Demacians asked the Arbormark nation to help them, which is a brand new nation full of mages between Demacia and Noxus. But we also know that Silas has to somehow escape. So while we don't know what is going to happen to the palace of Demacia, we know the outcome. What I'm trying to say is that the palace might actually explode. That thing was never revealed. So whatever is going to happen in the next issue is going to be really big. Now I'm going to leave you with the actual art of the next issue. And from the art alone, you can see that something big is going to happen. So with that, thank you so much for listening to this video without a script. I only do this when I need to save time, and oh boy do I need to do that. So again, thank you so much for being here, and now to the outro. Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other league facts and stories? And did you know that we have neat mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.